morning everyone. Today I am presenting my seminar topic named Scaffolds and Biomaterials in Oral Tissue Engineering. What are the scaffolds and biomaterials we will be needing for tissue engineering purposes, specifically in oral regeneration purposes, and a comparative study with systemic oral tissue engineering will also be covered in this seminar. So, as we already know that tissue loss can be either due to any traumatic injury, any disease, or degeneration as a consequence of pathological aging remains a major clinical challenge across medicine and dentistry applications. Traditional approaches we have seen that they only focus on the replacement, whereas tissue engineering in today's world aims for the regeneration of the tissue as a whole, which will not only restore the structure but also the function in overall general cases. So at the center of this approach of the tissue engineering and biomaterials scaffolds lie at the center, which today are no longer viewed as inert fillers. There has been a transition from the traditional definition, but as bio-instructive systems that are capable of directing the cells and activating the immune responses and activating the tissue remodeling to get the regeneration at a whole level. So this becomes particularly critical in oral tissues because regeneration occurs in a highly hostile environment compared to most systemic tissues. So our oral cavity is dynamic and regeneration focus is laid to be more in this area. Next comes the overview of biomaterials and classification of scaffolds. I have already talked it about in the module of biomaterials at MIT, but a small gist of it I will just cover. So we all know that biomaterials can either be natural or synthetic. These are the materials that not only are designed to interact with the biological systems, whether it is a systemic tissue regeneration or oral tissue regeneration, not only for therapeutic purposes, but without causing any adverse effects. These are ADRs. Earlier, the traditional concept was the biomaterials were expected to be biologically very inert. However, in the modern tissue engineering purposes, biomaterials are made to be biologically interactive, in general capable of supporting not only cell adhesion mechanisms and cell migration mechanisms, also modulating the inflammatory phases and delivering the biochemical signals that will help in oral tissue regeneration as a whole and degrading in synchronicity with tissue formation. The biomaterials and scaffolds at that point of application should degrade at a particular time so that the delivery can be done at a proper way. So this image shows the ways of fabricating the scaffolds either by electrospinning or 3D printing or the melt electroviolin techniques and the injectable use of the hydrogels for various purposes. So the electrospinning can be done for ECM like nanofibers. These are specifically ideal for membrane like ligamental structures, that is for the regeneration of the PDL membranes and PDL like mimics. And the 3D printing technique will be involving larger tissue mechanisms for periodontal and bone defects, and the injectable hydrogels will be minimally invasive in nature, which fills the complex shapes into the body cavities, and its application is a strong match for not only pulpal regeneration but also soft tissue regeneration in general. So next comes the overview of scaffolds. So a small gist, a scaffold is a three-dimensional biomaterial framework not only designed to maintain the defect space that we are talking about in tissue engineering purposes, but also to provide mechanical strength and stability, guide cellular organization, allow vascular ingrowth of the tissues, and degrade as new tissue forms, as I already told previously. So clinically, scaffolds act as a temporary regenerative templates, enabling the body to rebuild its own tissues. So this is the classification. This is the ideal biocompatible design checklist for scaffolds. The scaffold should be biocompatible and have no healing effects that is, it guides repair without causing any chronic inflammation or degradation or without undergoing fibrotic encapsulation. Second is the mechanical match, which match the strength of the material stiff enough to hold the shape and design, and it acts as a stress shield mechanism for bone tissue regeneration. Mass transport, so it should be designed in a way, the scaffold should be porous in a way that interconnected pores help for gaseous exchange and nutrient exchange, and degradation timing. As I said, the scaffolds must degrade at a proper time when the new tissue forms. Too fast degradation may lead to the collapse of the entire structure. Too slow degradation blocks the remodeling mechanism and regeneration in general. So next comes the tissue engineering triad and the role of the immune system in tissue engineering purposes, whether it is oral or systemic. So this is a cyclical event which will not traditionally in the tissue engineering triad, three components were there, which were the cell, the signaling molecules, and the immune system. Now with the advent of biomaterials and tissue engineering purposes, the biomaterials that are used for guided tissue regeneration not only involve the three components but also the fourth component, that is the scaffold design and the principles. The classical tissue engineering consisted of cells, signaling molecules and scaffolds. The immune system has been incorporated as a fourth and most incisive decisable component. So regeneration does not occur in the absence of inflammation. Inflammation is important. Pro-inflammatory cytokines in the M1 phase needs to be delivered to the site of the tissue engineering. Instead, controlled and timely immune responses are essential for successful healing. So, improper immune activation leads to not only chronic inflammation, fibrosis of the scarce tissue and foreign body reaction, which will lead to rejection failures and ultimately the scaffold failure. So thus the modern tissue engineering not only emphasizes the immune formed biomaterial design, that is the activity of the immune system in general is the focus in this area. Next comes the systemic tissue regeneration. What are the systemic tissue regeneration key principles? When we talk about the systemic tissue regeneration as a whole, it not only involves the bone, cartilage, skin, muscle and vascular tissues, and the common requirements for systemic tissue regeneration, that is a plus point, is adequate vascularization needs to be achieved, mechanical stability of the scaffolds and biomaterials that are used for the systemic tissue regeneration needs to be achieved, controlled degradation rates of the scaffold needs to be achieved in this area, and immune compatibility and prevention of the rejection rates should be taken into consideration when we talk about key principles driving the systemic tissue regeneration. So, systemic tissue in general regenerate in relatively sterile environments, and now I will be talking about the comparison between the difference between systemic tissue regeneration and oral tissue regeneration. Allowing, so this sterile environment will have one positive pros, that is allowing greater flexibility in the scaffold design. Next come oral tissue regeneration. What is the difference between systemic tissue regeneration and oral tissue regeneration? So when we talk about oral tissue regeneration, it is unique biological process which involves the use of various biomechanical stresses, strains and other constant forces. How it is different? Because our oral cavity is under constant microbial exposure. So the balance of the oral microbiota plays a role in the development of the scaffolds and the tissue engineering outcomes as a general. Also, it is under constant mechanical forces of mastication. Not only static forces are delivered, but also dynamic cyclical forces are delivered. Also, the permanent moisture from saliva is a very important key factor, and there is a close integration of the multiple tissue types between the different types of the oral cavity masticatory mucosa. So, unlike systemic tissues, oral tissues interfaces such as we have seen for the periodontium, bone ligament, cementum interface, pulp dentin complex interface. So we have to treat the various parts as individual subunits and build scaffolds and tissue engineering principles based on which will regenerate these complex parts separately. So this complexity requires highly specialized spatial control for scaffold designs. Selecting of the scaffold, selecting of the material of the scaffold is very important in this area. Systemic regeneration focuses mainly on vascularization when we talk about the difference, and load sharing, that is the biomechanical properties, the stresses, strain, while oral tissue regeneration demands not only precision control of immunity factors, the load of the microbiota, but also the multi-tissue interfaces that I talked about. So in conclusion, the scaffold must be effective in systemic bone regeneration that we select for systemic may fail in the oral cavity. So the selection and the design is very challenging, and the advances are going in this research area and the field. Next comes the clinical applications in oral tissue regeneration. We will be talking about periodontal regeneration, pulp dentin complex regeneration, and alveolar bone regeneration. These are the various tissue types we can come across, which will be incorporating the hard tissue and the soft tissue. So modern approaches aim not only to restore the functional attachment of the periodontium and not to just fill the bone, as I told, because of the traditional practices. Scaffolds are designed to guide fiber orientation and compartmentalize tissue growth. So scaffolds should be designed in such a way. Now scaffolds are built in a layered format. The first layer will be regenerating and mimicking the hard tissue regeneration, that is the bone. The second layer will be mimicking the extracellular matrix. The third layer will be mimicking the soft tissue. Like that, 4D development of scaffolds are coming into play. For the regeneration of the pulp dentin complex, injectable hydrogels, as I talked about, so not only support the angiogenesis, neurogenesis, but also control the inflammatory phases, the M2M1 phases within the confined pulp chamber, and help in proper tissue healing mechanisms. For the alveolar bone regeneration, composite scaffolds, that is the hybrid scaffolds combining polymers and bioactive ceramics, not only improve the bone volume and also help in the implant success and overall outcomes. And lastly, for the gingival and the mucosal tissue regeneration, rapid epithelialization is a key precursor, and immune control are critical to prevent infection and scarring. So lastly, to conclude this picture, the next generation, the future of biological choreography, what are the research areas of interest? In this area, the development of 4D stimulative responsive scaffolds that act as a layered system which will release specific signals in response to healing environment, advent of bioprinting complex interfaces, just not only printing shapes, but print spatially heterogeneous tissues like the periodontium in one process, and also the cell-free regeneration where responses are being developed using the scaffold to deliver not only the secretome function and the exosome or the extracellular vesicle from cells, aiming for therapeutic benefit as a general, and immune engineered scaffold. The scaffolds which are designed to undergo the M1, M2 inflammatory phases and which will chemistry explicitly control the macrophage phenotype and guide the regeneration these are the future prospects. So to conclude, biomaterials and scaffolds are not inert supports but dynamic regulators of healing. Successful tissue regeneration, especially the oral cavity, depends on how well scaffolds integrate to the mechanical design, biological signaling and immune modulation. Lastly, the key takeaway home message is, in tissue engineering, regeneration is not dictated solely by the cells or materials as an individuality, but how effectively biomaterials communicate, and there is a crosstalk between the immune system as a general as a system to guide healing towards restoration rather than fibrosis and scarring. Thank you.